Hello, everyone. The reason I wait a second like that is because there's a delay when before it starts recording sometimes. So if you start talking immediately, a lot of that may get chopped off. Anyway, the blue check mark. Someone brought that up today, and I started writing this long ass thing, and then I realized, why don't I just go on and talk about it real quick, and that way everyone can know and see, and I don't have to write a thesis. The blue check mark thing. The blue checkmark scheme, I guess I would call it personally, and I'll give you what I really think it was about. To make money, of course, that's the obvious choice, the obvious reason, but there's more to it than that. Uh, Remember, Elon Musk bought Twitter with the help of Russian and Saudi money uh, because they needed to squash a lot of the organizing that was going on the most powerful social media website, in my opinion, as far as text goes. Twitter, in my opinion. If video, that would be YouTube. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? So someone needed to crush that. Some right wing apartheid psycho just happens to be, excuse me, I didn't finish my description. Right wing apartheid racist uh, psycho who was born on third base and thinks they hit a triple, egomaniac, narcissist, ketamine addict, blah, 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 blah. The guy's a fucking mess, okay? And he looks like a mess lately, honestly. And his companies are a mess, but I'll get into that maybe. So they need to crush that organizing power that Twitter had. I explained, in my opinion, two main things really hurt Donald while he was president: CNN and Twitter. Those are the two that hurt him most, I believe. And it's not just Twitter itself, it was the people on Twitter. People like George Conway, who has a few million followers, saying things every day. The stark reality that we have a narcissist madman in charge of the fucking country. And something needs to be done about it. So these two outlets needed to be crushed, and they were crushed pretty well. Not completely, but pretty well. Bought by right-wing oligarch types. Uh, so Elon buys it for his Russian, Saudi paymasters and himself, uh, because he needs to crush this thing. Anything good. He needs those tax cuts. That's what it's all about. That's the game. So he introduces an idea. I believe it started with Stephen King, an interaction where he asked Stephen King if Stephen would pay, I don't know, $20 for a blue check mark. And Stephen's like, I'm not paying nothing. And then he's like, lowered it down to a lower amount, $8, $10, something like that. Eventually, it ended up, the scheme, being roughly $8 to $11, depending what kind of phone you have and all these different things. So anybody, Joe Blow from Idaho, could pay $8 and get a blue check mark. A blue check mark was a coveted thing on Twitter. Um, it wasn't given lightly or easily, and there were people that, verified millionaires that waited years to get blue check marks, verified stars, etc. People that the world knows that have large followings. Even some of them had to wait a long time before Twitter finally said, okay, we see you, we recognize you, you are who you are famous, you do have a following, okay, blue check mark. That made a person legitimate. That was a legitimate credential on Twitter that couldn't be bought for eight fucking dollars. Um, you know, MAGA King 3000 couldn't just pay $8, get a blue check mark, because here's the other advantage that Elon attached to it. So suckers would buy it in his big genius scheme. Your comments get put at the top of comment sections. In other words, you get more exposure by paying Elon for the privilege of expedited free speech. That's, I guess, what you would call it. It's not free speech anymore. It's if you can pay a little more, now your speech is expedited to the top. Now it's boosted. Now it's elevated. In other words, because you can pay, your speech is more important than someone who can't pay or doesn't want to pay. That was the lure or the allure of the blue check. After seeing it play out for a while, I realize now, and I realized a long time ago, what the game was. Uh, Elon knows that a significant portion of internet traffic is bots and trolls and public relations firms and government trolling, etc., for propaganda purposes and to affect things inside a country without having to go to war with them. So he knew all those people would pay for that blue check mark. Ivan in the troll farm in St. Petersburg, and uh, Johnny the jerk off who works for the GOP um, online. He knew those people, the troll farms, the bot farms, they would pay for the $8. So I guess he figured he'd cash in on that. And the reason Elon knows so much about bots and trolls and internet traffic is because 70%, over 70% of his followers are bots. And that's verified. And it's pathetic, like I said before, it's pathetic a man that rich has to create fake bot followers to pad his numbers to make himself feel good. Uh, a lot of these millionaires and billionaires, man, they really have low self-esteem behind it all because you don't do shit like that unless you got really low self-esteem. If I was worth $220 billion, look at me, people, look at me, look at me. If I was worth $220 billion, and I know that's assets, I know it's not all cash right in the bank account. I know that. Jerk offs, I know that. But listen to me. And I know I'm repeating myself. That's what I do. De Niro, listen to me. Listen to me. Listen to me. That's how De Niro would play it. I don't think of De Niro. That just popped into my head now. That's the shtick you're doing, Nick, when you do that. You're doing De Niro. You didn't even know it. That's how brilliant an actor I am. Anyway, where was I going? See, now I forgot what I was saying. Oh, right, the troll farms, the bot farms are the ones that were buying the blue checks. They get their responses boosted to the top. I see it day after day after day after day. Well, once he made that move, Mr. Genius, Mr. Child King, what started happening? Now you got bullshit responses at the top of major accounts on Twitter, not real responses, bullshit PR firm responses, troll farm from Russia responses, jerk offs that work for the GOP responses, because they decide to pay the $8 because their game is trolling on the internet. Of course they would pay $8 measly fucking dollars to get their shit boosted to the top. Here's what else happened though. The blue check became worthless in Elon's little scheme. Wait a minute. Now I remember where I was going. I kept saying, look at me. If I was worth $220 billion, I would not give a slight feather fuck how many followers on Twitter I had. What I'm saying again, a lot of these millionaires and billionaires that do shit like that, they have to have self-esteem issues. The last thing on my mind, if I was worth that kind of money, would be my following on Twitter. That would be nothing to me. I'm worth 220 billion. I can buy countries. You know what I mean with that kind of money? Twitter should be your last fucking concern. And it's sad that he's so concerned that he has to create over 70% fake followers because he has to have the most. I guess it's just another, it's more evidence of his like kind of mental illness, narcissism, craziness. I don't know what to even call it. Again, you wouldn't see me worrying about creating fake bots and like, I got Barack Obama has 9 million followers. I got to have 10. You know what I mean? Like, I you're worth 220, man. What are you doing? Anyway, let's go back to it. So the blue check mark is now worthless because Ivan the troll in St. Petersburg, all he needs is $8 of Putin's rubles, and he can get his shit boosted to the top. So the check mark became worthless. It became an embarrassment. Um, he even left it on certain people's accounts, fucking with them because they didn't want it there for a while. So that scheme played out for a while where most of the check marks, I guarantee you, were sold to people that work online with an agenda for money. That's where most of the blue check $8 funds came from because it became an embarrassment, because it became worthless. It was currency before, hard, real, big time currency. If you were verified on Twitter, that was a big deal. That meant the world knew who you were. You know what I mean? Already. It's not something they give you when you're like not established. You understand? So it's hard currency. It's worth something. If you're a public figure and you're putting messages out every day, if you got that blue check mark next to your name, all the other jerk offs that are ripping off your name and their screen names, they're meaningless now. You're the one. You've got the blue check mark. Everyone knows that account is you saying what you want to say, unless it gets hacked. So it went from that currency, it meant you were big time, to, again, Johnny the jerk off that works for the GOP being able to buy one. Now it's worthless. So Elon watched all this play out. He realized, well, no significant revenues coming in. I look like a fucking idiot. The blue check's worthless now. Let me start giving it back to people, because in order to enact a scheme, he took blue check marks away from all the famous people across the world. I don't know if you remember that. All the big time people, he wanted them to pay for it. A lot of them said fuck off. Most of them said fuck off. Otherwise, it'd still be going on and he wouldn't be giving them back. And that's where it ended up now. Now he's at the point where he can't give these things away. People are explaining to their followers, big accounts that I follow, that other people follow, and other people I don't follow. They're explaining to their followers that if you see a blue check all of a sudden on my account, please don't think I paid for it. And it was Elon is giving them back to people with large followings again, because he realized he made it worthless and he can't give them away. So he's doing it to fuck with people now, giving that worthless, toilet paper with shit on it to people, basically. I literally see multiple accounts I follow. They'll put a message out to their people. Yeah, I didn't pay for this blue check mark. He just gave it back to me, blah, 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 blah. So let's analyze this quickly. The business genius, the visionary, the genius, Elon Musk, buys Twitter for, his whatever evil agenda he's part of with it, tax cuts at any cost. He decides he has the genius idea. I'm going to take the blue check mark away from all the people that earned it by amassing a following, blah, 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 and I'm going to charge everyone for it. Only bots and trolls buy the check mark for the most part, and people that work online with an agenda for money. That it also in the process makes the check mark worthless. It also makes those blue check marks, all those bots and trolls that paid money, all the PR firms, this is all you've accomplished with me and a lot of people on that website. which I find amusing. You pay all this money, I don't know, for your team of trolls that you have, I don't know, 10, 50, 100, whatever that costs. And you do all this work online. And all you've done is you've put a target on your back, on your face, actually, where right next to where, the blue check mark is. Because every time I see a blue check mark and it's not someone I already followed before this whole policy started that has a blue check mark, they get blocked immediately. Immediately. That's what it also became. It became an instant block. So that was a huge backfire as well. For a good percentage of Twitter, that's how they handled it. And that's how I handle it. If I see that blue check mark and Joe has a blue check mark next to his name, block, gone, worthless. Because odds are there's a good percentage of a chance that Joe or Java 3000 or whatever fucking name they choose, that isn't a known name, a known actor, a known news person, a known politician, someone we all know because we see them on the news, we see them on television, we see them on social media. Um, so I see Java 3000 with a check mark. Uh, I'm blocking that. That's gone, and I'm never seeing it again. I can't even imagine what my block list is up to now. And a lot of people handled it that same way. A lot of people handle ads that same way. They just block them all. So again, it got to the point where Elon can't give a blue check mark away now. He's forcing it on people. All of a sudden, someone wakes up that's not paying for a blue check that has a large following, and they're waking up with a blue check now because Elon's, he's embarrassed now. So he's just fucking with people. And, the end result of all this, or not the end result, but the result so far is Tesla's down to 155 a share from its high of like 400 at one point. Uh, Lost significant value. And the company's not looking like it's going upward. It's looking like it's going downward. I follow it every day. Twitter, valued at like 12 to 14 billion. He paid 40 or 44 or whatever. Again, tremendous loss in value. And we all know what the goal was. I'm not asking you, I'm telling you what the goal was. It was to ruin that website. That was the goal from second one. But here's the thing. Elon didn't want to just ruin the website along with the Saudis and Putin and Donald and everyone else. He wanted to make money while he ruined the website and turned it into $8 4chan. That didn't work. He ain't making no money. He's losing money hand over fucking fist. Advertisers fled in droves, and I wouldn't blame him if they never came back. I wouldn't want my ad next to fucking not Space Nazi 3000 or whatever. No, spouting some white supremacist bullshit next to my fucking ad for my business. Fuck out of here. I wouldn't advertise there if you paid me to. Fuck that shit. Anyway, so Elon's scheme backfired on his ass, and I hope I explained it sufficiently. I'm hungry and I'm a little slow right now. Forgive me.